I don't want to make this constantly personal with me and Larry. I mean, we might be friends again. I don't know. I can be. I mean, I can take a shot.
Bill Maher was a guest on Piers Morgan's show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, to talk about the criticism that he has received, Bill Maher that is, over having dinner with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, specifically criticism that he's gotten from fellow comedian Larry David. So we're going to take a look at these clips of Bill Maher talking with Piers Morgan. I have my thoughts to share on this too. Let's get into it together.
Well, let's talk Larry David. Because you're friends, aren't you? Were you friends? Are you friends?
Yes, of course. I mean, this wasn't, my favorite moment of our friendship, but, look, I don't want to get in too much into that, but I think the minute you play the Hitler card,
that's what I think.
You've lost the argument.
Yes.
And also, I must say, come on, man. Hitler, Nazis, nobody has been harder about and more prescient, I must say, about Donald Trump than me. I don't need to be lectured on who Donald Trump is. Just the fact that I met him in person didn't change that. And the fact that I reported honestly is not a sin either. But, to use the Hitler thing, first of all, I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million dead Jews, who, like, that should kind of be in its own place in history. And, I know people can say, well, we're just comparing it in this way. Well, it's an argument you kind of lost just to start it. It's just, look, maybe it's not completely logically fair, but Hitler has really kind of got to stay in his own place. He is the goat of evil, and we're just going to have to, I think, leave it like that. So, did I think that was appropriate? No, but people have the right to.
Did you know he was going to do it?
Of course not. And people.
So how did you find out?
My publicist said, this is going on today and you should know it. And I was like, oh, okay. Have
you had any contact with him since?
No. And that's okay. Look, my whole reason to go to the White House, I said it right at the beginning of the speech I made about it, was, talking to Kid Rock right here, and we were just like, there's got to be a better way than just hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. I mean, maybe, nothing will come of this, but what I know nothing will come from is pretending to ignore the person who has all the power. Democrats have no power. So to think that your method of running out of the room screaming, I'm not talking to you, maybe my thing has a 1% chance of succeeding. Yours definitely has zero.
Not zero. And the final thing I'd say about the Larry David thing is I read it and I was just like you, the moment I saw Hitler, okay, I get it. It's that very tired old trope. In fact, on your show once with Jim Jeffries, he told me to fuck off on your show when I said Trump is not Hitler. He hasn't been responsible for the death of 12 million people, including 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. And ever since then, I've just thought every time I see it, this is a ridiculous analogy. But the thing about the point people made on social media about Larry David was that he's been conspicuous by his silence since October the 7th, for example, not said a word. You've been conspicuous by the support you've given Jewish people on your show.
And the state of Israel.
Yeah.
And also tearing a new asshole to the, what do they call them? I used to call them that, useful idiots who take up the cause of some of the most illiberal people in the world. And I'm talking about Hamas, where they are now, finally we see these protests from the from the people in Gaza against Hamas, because of course when the useful idiots talk about oppressors, who's really the oppressor of the people of Hamas? It's Hamas. That's who puts their own people purposely in harm's way. That's their whole strategy, is like, well, we can't win this war militarily. The way we can win this war is get enough of our own people killed on purpose so that world opinion, the useful idiots, will fall for that and blame Israel.
That is the whole strategy.
That is the strategy. And Some people are clear-eyed about that, and many people are not.
Do you think if you're going to write op-ed pieces for the New York Times attacking you for effectively sitting for dinner with Hitler or the new Hitler, you should perhaps be a little bit more vocal in the area we've just discussed about Israel and the Jewish people, rather than have a deafening silence about that? I mean, people are accusing him of...
I'm going to stop here for just a moment. Okay, so Piers Morgan and Bill Maher are criticizing Larry David for not having an opinion about Israel. And it's like, well, he criticized Bill Maher publicly, but he's not saying anything about Israel. First and foremost, Larry David is a comedian and an entertainer. He's not a political commentary person, typically. Does everyone in America, or every famous person in America, or every Jewish person in America have to have a public stance on what's going on in the Middle East? I mean, we are talking about foreign countries. We're not talking about the United States. And Larry David, in his criticism of Bill Maher, was talking about the United States and the U.S. president. But if a famous person or a Jewish person, a famous person who is not a journalist or, like I said, typically a political commentary person, every single one of those people has to be on the record in their views about the Middle East. I mean, that seems ridiculous to me.
Moral cowardice and hypocrisy.
Well, I mean...
Play the Hitler card, but won't actually talk about the ones who are probably the most similar to the thinking of Hitler, which is Hamas, who want to kill all the Jews. I mean, you get my point.
That is an interesting irony. Yes. I mean, look, I don't want to make this constantly personal with me and Larry. I mean, we might be friends again. I don't know. I can be. I mean, I can take a shot, and I also can absolutely take it when people disagree with me. That's not exactly the way I would have done it, but, again, let's go, the irony, let's go back to what my original thing was. There's got to be a better way than hurling insults and not talking to people. So, if I can talk to Trump, I could talk to Larry David too. I could talk to anybody. I do it right here. I will talk to almost anybody.
If he was sitting here now, what would you say to him?
I'd say, Piers Morgan kept trying to ask about you, and it got over the top. So I said, so yeah, that's it.
Who wouldn't you want to have sitting here?
Oh, there are people who are just, pointless, to the Klansmen or, neo-Nazis or things like that, plainly are beyond the pale. There's no argument.
A Kardashian?
They've been here. Chris has been here. It's a case-by-case basis, but basically, there are one of the problems with the far left is that their ideas of purity are so unrealistic, if nothing else. In a country where, Trump did win 2 elections.
Yes.
I mean, you just can't write off. I know I saw it after the election. There was a lot of people who, some I know and some are friends, but their whole attitude was, we're a bad country. That's what it is. We have nothing to be sorry about with the way we ran our election, or it's just, we thought the country was full of good people, and they're actually full of really shitty, horrible people. Deplorables, that whole thing, calling them and thinking of them as deplorable. And I just don't think of a Trump voter as necessarily deplorable. He could be, absolutely. And so could someone who voted for Kamala Harris be deplorable in their own way. Now, it's also not equivalent. I make no fuzz on it all the time. I'm very clear about it. I think the right is more dangerous. I think what's going on in this country is a shit show. I mean, shout out to my writers, because we have been as hard on Trump as we ever have. The stuff we do, I mean, if you think I'm the guy to avoid because I'm not going to be hard on Trump now, you're missing actually still, excuse my immodesty, the sharpest, hardest, funniest taking down of MAGA Nation and the right. And, the thing is, I'll also do it on the left but they're not in power now. So they're not getting as much from me, as they shouldn't.
Did you hear from Trump after your monologue or after the dinner?
I'm not going to comment on any of that. I mean,
I'll take that as a yes.
I mean, we're not buddies.
So if you want to watch this entire interview between Piers Morgan and Bill Maher, it's on Piers Morgan's Piers Morgan Uncensored channel. But a couple last things that I wanted to wrap up with. So Bill Maher talks about the left having a purity test. Well, to go back to the thing with Larry David, where it's not Bill Maher saying it so much, it's more Piers Morgan that, he hasn't spoken out on the Middle East, but Larry David we're talking about. That sounds like a purity test to me. To me, that's his business, whether he wants to comment on that or not. There are plenty of people that get upset because whomever hasn't come out on one side or the other, but I don't think that's any of anyone's business, especially like we're saying, Larry David is just an entertainer. He doesn't have to have a public stance. In terms of what Bill Maher has said about that he can take a shot. Now, this is all hearsay, but I've seen a lot of different comedians who either do impersonations of Bill Maher or who make fun of Bill Maher, who say that he's incredibly thin-skinned about that he gets really upset about being made fun of. And that's something that I never really understand. When you're Bill Maher, somebody at that level, to me, you're above the fray. I don't know why he would even come out and comment on what Larry David said about him. I don't know why he wouldn't just handle that privately rather than publicly. I feel the same way about the Young Turks. They're sort of on a different level than what Bill Maher is. But Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, they seem to, they'll get on battles with people on Twitter or X, just regular people that criticize them. And I don't know why they don't just ignore that. But Bill Maher, like I say, again, I don't have facts to back this up, but I've seen a lot from other comedians that he is notoriously thin-skinned. But what do you think about all this? How do you feel about Bill Maher? This was a few weeks ago, but him going to Mar-a-Lago, now him sort of battling with Larry David and Piers Morgan's criticism of Larry David here. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. If you side with Bill Maher in this situation, Larry David, Piers Morgan. Also, make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I'm Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.